Hello and welcome back to Up the Villa, the first match preview of the season. Our content is up and running now for the 25-26 season. Villa fans, if you are new, get on the journey with us. Comment your thoughts, smash the like button. And Newcastle fans, we've got some real good content coming all week. So subscribe to the channel as well. I think tomorrow's episode you will really appreciate. Brand new concept coming to the channel. So Earl, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Good to be back on. I feel like it's been a while, and good for the season to be back finally.
Yeah, can't wait for it, mate. So I think the right place to start would be on Aston Villa and Newcastle United's window, and we are sort of rubber stamped by the same or similar sort of aspects, football finances, and that's sort of dictating what both clubs can do. Two clubs aspiring to continually get Champions League football, to progress. Both have got wealthy owners that want to be able to spend money and gate crash the big six. So how are you feeling about Newcastle and Villa's window? Are there any major similarities between the two clubs?
Yeah, I mean it's been fairly quiet for both. I mean, there's been a couple of big signings: Alanga for Newcastle, Guesson for Villa. But I think both clubs probably would have liked to have done more if they could have, and probably would have if they could have. So yeah, I mean, if you look at the PSR situation and the clubs who have spent the most this summer, it's kind of normal service has resumed. Top six have spent the most, or media six, whatever you want to call them. So yeah, it's one of them where you definitely feel like we've been hamstrung. Again, Newcastle were last season as well, but it doesn't have to define the season, I don't think.
No, neither do I, and I think it won't because of both clubs' managers. I mean, Villa fans hold Unai in really high regard, wouldn't swap him for anyone, and Newcastle hold Eddie Howe in high regard, wouldn't swap him for anyone. So I think while both clubs have got those managers, they're sort of, you look at the media and you'll look at it and go, oh, like Villa's window, like it's not going to be no good. But then look who the manager is. Look what he's able to achieve with any given squad. And I think Newcastle are in a similar sort of situation. Now, Newcastle's window has been hampered by one player, I think, Isak, and the way in which he has conducted himself, I think, has been an absolute disgrace, to be honest. And I think, yes, they've got probably PSR issues, but Isak's situation is just, for a football fan, it's not good. I mean, you look at it and think, okay, Newcastle won a trophy. They've got Champions League football. They're building a really good squad, but that's not enough. How can that not be enough to keep hold of your best players and have another season out of a player like Isak? So what have you made of that whole Isak situation? I mean, as we're recording now, it's coming out that he's not going to play a game for Newcastle United. So it feels like tools have been downed, and I'm just really pushing for this move. So what have you made of it?
Yeah, it's just an all-round very strange situation, isn't it? I mean, the timing of when he threw his toys out the pram was very strange. After Liverpool done the Ekitike move and all this kind of thing, so that timing was very strange. And saying you'll never play for the club again and this sort of thing, it just puts Newcastle in a really awkward position, doesn't it? And it weakens their negotiating power and all that sort of thing as well. So, I mean, it's one thing to lose your best player, but for them to act in this way is another thing. We saw it with Jack Grealish. I mean, whatever you think about that move, we got 100 million for him, and we got players through the door, and ultimately we've progressed as a club since then. But I mean, losing your best player, and he's forcing his way out, and you just won a trophy, just won Champions League qualification. Just puts a bit of a downer on things when it we didn't need to be like that way.
Yeah, and I think this situation, it is all on Isak because he's the one actively wanting to leave. Newcastle actively want to keep him and would probably never have imagined this situation happening this summer. Do you feel like Liverpool sort of have had a bit of a mare with this situation? Because this could have been resolved if Ekatike had just gone straight to Newcastle, which looked likely. Ekatike was in talks with Newcastle and looked like, and then Liverpool came out and said, we'll have Isak or we'll take Ekatike. They took Ekatike and still want Isak. And I feel like that deal could have just happened pretty easily at the start of the window. So I feel like Liverpool, even though they want Isak, have made the situation even more difficult because, a top target like Ekatike at Newcastle would have been brilliant, and Sesko exactly the same. So I think the position that Newcastle are in, and Villa were in a similar one when Watkins was rumoured to be leaving, is who comes in and guarantees your Premier League goals when top targets have all gone elsewhere?
Yeah, well, I think from a Liverpool perspective, it's not on them to do Newcastle any favours, to be honest. If they want both, don't know why, but if they want both, then I think they can get both. But yeah, like I say, that just the timing was strange. But I think it's all on Isak, to be honest. I personally don't put any blame on Liverpool. I mean, it seems completely like the players encouraging it to me. But what do I know?
Well, there is some breaking news that's happening today anyway, and it's that Jacob Ramsey's in negotiations with Newcastle. And me and Earl, we get on really well, don't we? We chat a lot. And it's very rare that we disagree on things. And we actually we clash on this, don't we? And I'm not really Ramsey's biggest fan. And Earl, you like Ramsey, don't you? So what are your thoughts on this Ramsey situation to Newcastle? How, do you feel like he'd suit Newcastle, or do you feel like he'll stay? How are you feeling about Ramsey?
Well, I do like Ramsey, but I mean, the first thing I'll say is, he's got two years left on his contract. So if he's not going to sign a new contract, then we've got to sell him. It's as simple as that. I'm kind of surprised with those reports that the contract talks are stalling and these sorts of things. I wouldn't have thought that would be an issue. But again, what do I know? But yeah, I mean, I like Ramsey as a player. I feel like we see it in flashes what he can do. I think when he does get the ball, that's when we see the flashes. But he doesn't show enough for it potentially. If you look at the number of touches that he has, I was looking at the data just before we came on. I think it was less than 43 touches per 90, which is really, really low compared to other attacking midfielders.
What would be like a good, like an average? What would you say, like 70?
Yeah, I think 70 would be upper end. But you're looking at like at least 50, 60. So like I say, I think when he actually does get the ball, he's fine. But does he show for it enough? Like you say, a lot of the time he tends to go missing for large periods of the game. I just wonder, why is that? Is it the confidence? Is it he's not trusting himself after the injury? I don't know, but I know you had him predicted to be as your most improved.
I know, mate. I know.
Eventually, so I think if he does get a few more touches, I think he could easily do that and see a stark increase. In terms of going to Newcastle, though, I think he does fit their system personally. A lot of Newcastle fans will be looking at it and probably seeing him as a left winger because he plays on the left for Villa. I don't think that's where he'd be for Newcastle. They're obviously strong in that area with Gordon and Barnes. I think he'd be more of like the left centre midfielder, more of an 8 in their
Yeah,
system.
is a Joelinton sort of
Like a
backup
Joe
or
Linton, like a Willock.
on the left?
Kinda.
Yeah.
But yeah, I personally don't want him to go. I think depends what the fee is, depends on the contract, but I think we would be selling a talented player at the bottom of his value. I think he can get better, and I think we'd be selling him while his value is low.
Yeah, I think he can get better, and I said he'd been Villa's most improved. I'm still going to take that if he goes and becomes improved for someone else. I feel like I can still take that one. What? So if he's to go, what would you say we'd be looking to recruit him with? Would it be someone a similar mold on that left, or do you think we would switch it up and go for more, say, of like a left-sided winger, or sort of like a central player that just wants to be more direct? What would you say we'd be looking for?
First of all, I think we'd be fine without him, which is probably one of the reasons why people would say to let him go. But I do think we'll be fine without him. I think already having Evan Guesson through the door, I think that replaces a lot of Ramsey's attributes straight away. I mean, you look at the ball carrying, power, progressive ability. We've seen him play on the left in pre-season as well, Guesson. So I think that's a very smart, shrewd signing from Villa. He's already through the door, so replacing a lot of Ramsey's attributes. I'm sure a lot of people would say better, improving on those anyway. We've got Daniel Malen, we've got Buendia stepped up pre-season, we've got McGinn who can play out there. So I think in terms of a replacement, it doesn't necessarily have to be a 100% ready-made player. I would personally be looking for like an under 23 and under 22 kind of player who can come in and contribute minutes, and we can improve them as well. I think the most likely name is El Canus from Leicester, who I know you're a fan of, Luke.
Yeah, no, I think he'd be really good. I think he'd kind of fit that mold a little bit. Similar-ish sort of player, similar sort of attributes. So I could probably see that, or like you say, we could go for something totally different. So I think the only thing with Ramsey going is sort of like the European homegrown quota. I don't know how we would address that, whether someone just gets promoted. I'm not too sure. So yeah, let's talk about the game then. The question, Earl, then is who's getting battered, because this fixture has a battering. We go there, we get battered. They come here, we get battered. So I think it's going to be a really interesting game. First game of the season. Newcastle pre-season, they've not won a game. They haven't won a game in 8 games. I know you can't look at pre-season. Results don't matter. The Isak situation, it is going to have a bearing on the squad. They are going to be, sort of just a vibe not great. You want to go into a season full of confidence, attacking it, having no sort of doubts. And I think there's a doubt and a bit of a, not a cloud, but you know what I mean, like a little something overhanging them while this situation's there. And Eddie Howe would want it to be resolved as much as possible. So from a Villa point of view, I want us to try and, really stick it on Newcastle, take the game to them, and just perform to a really high level. Newcastle's team, there's some really top players that I really rate. I love Tonali. I think he's brilliant. Livramento, absolutely love him on the right-hand side. Can play on the left as well. Elanga is going to be a huge addition on transition, on the break. So they've got some brilliant players. But, where do you see this game sort of going, and who stands out for you for Newcastle?
Yeah, I'm feeling positive as a Villa fan coming into this game. We say it's only pre-season, but I think the results that Newcastle have had in pre-season, I think winning becomes a habit. So it could in the end mean nothing, but if Villa get off to a good start, the the vibes could turn in that game with recent fixtures, albeit pre-season for Newcastle. But yeah, I mean, even without Isak, they're still a good team. Still a very good team. I think they've got obviously a lot of the threat that they carry now. It'll be probably Anthony Gordon as their striker, so they'll have a lot of pace in that front three with probably Barnes, Gordon, Elanga, are we thinking? So, you know, we'll have to watch out wide. We'll have to watch out on the counter attacks. You know, make sure we're not giving the ball away cheaply when we've got it in the attacking third. But I mean, yeah, beyond that, I think stylistically it's quite a good fit for Villa. I'm hoping, you know, I can see it kind of going similar to the Roma game in pre-season. I think kind of that man-to-man press, and I think, you know, when we're on it, playing out, I think we can beat that man-to-man press. We've got the threats in behind and carrying the ball to hurt a team like that. So yeah, I think they're a good team, but I'm definitely positive and 3 points in the bag, hopefully.
Yeah, I think that for any football fan, this is the best time of year, really, because you haven't kicked a ball. You've got all the optimism, all the hope, slight expectation, and once that first game's ended, sometimes it can all evaporate. I mean, I remember going when we qualified for the Champions League. Was it 5-1 at St James's, and that drive home. I mean, the drive up there was brilliant, and then the drive home, and you're like, in the space of 3 hours, how have I gone from being really like that to now like this? And yeah, so it is mad. And I do think there are some really strange, sometimes mad results on the opening day, and then it calms down a little bit. So let's talk a little bit about any surprise starters for Aston Villa. Have you got your eye on anyone? Could Guesson get a start? Obviously, we got Bezo, who's going to be starting this game for Aston Villa. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I guess I'll touch on Bezo first, because I think when Emery got sent off at the end of last season, and you had in the back of your mind, you know, is Olsen going to have to start next season? I think with Bezo coming in, I think he's had a good preseason and just looked comfortable. I mean, conceded goals, but it's come from, you know, mistakes here and there. I think he's looked really assured. You know, he's looked like he's been good with his feet. Like we say, I think that's going to be a key factor against Newcastle with if they come with the press and that sort of thing. So yeah, looking really assured with him. But any surprise starters, I think if this Ramsey news has got any sorts of legs to it, then I think that plays even more into the potential of Guesson starting, to be honest. Maybe it's too soon, maybe, but I mean, I think the fitness is there. He's played preseason games with Nice. You know, we've seen him come straight into preseason with Villa with a couple of cameo appearances. So, and I think so far he's looked like the real deal to me. So yeah, I think I'd definitely like to see that. I think.
Yeah, he's a real Emery profile player. You know, so you just look at him and go, you are an Emery signing just by looking at him. So Malen and Buendia have had really good pre-seasons with Aston Villa. Team-wise, without giving too much away, I don't think they both will start. I'm not sure they both can start in this game. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I think they've both had really good pre-seasons. To be fair, I think Malen really hit the ground running, and Buendia, I think he got better and better every game. So yeah, I think they definitely played themselves into contention. I think with Buendia, it's probably Rodgers dependent. So I think if Rodgers is fit, he'll probably be in the 10. If not, then Buendia's in with a shout, I would say. With Malen, it's interesting because most of his minutes in pre-season came in that striker role. We didn't really see him too much. I think was he on the right in the first game? potentially,
like
but
for like 20 minutes.
yeah, for not very long at all. But other than that, he was just up front as a striker. So yeah, it's difficult to see him playing on the right in this game against Newcastle. But I mean, it's a possibility. So I think there's question marks with both of them, but they've definitely earned themselves a right to be in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, with Villa's pre-season, just touching on it, I wouldn't say I was surprised by a few things. I don't know whether Unai's gone quite left field with your generic thinking of pre-season, because I go into pre-season thinking, okay, he's going to try different players in different areas and see different combinations. And Emery's been very sort of a structured pattern. He's got a structured pattern of what he wants from Villa anyway, but very much Buendia, Watkins, Buendia, Watkins, Buendia, Watkins, Rogers, Marlon, and no one like moving on the right, or we didn't see like Rogers, Watkins, Marlon. So is that Emery sort of just going, I can just put these players in a position on a game state basis and it will work, rather than sort of Villa's fans having to see Marlon on the right, etc. Because I think if generally I look at Villa at the minute, I prefer Rogers down the middle, and I'd say Watkins starts down the middle. But then I haven't seen Marlon anywhere else to suggest that he won't. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, 100%. I do wonder if there's an element of he's not wanting to show his hand, and pre-season's just all about minutes in the legs and these sorts of things. So we don't know what they're working on in training. To be fair, so we could see something a bit different. It's not like it's a whole new position for Marlon. To be honest, he has played on the right in his career, and he has played on the right for Villa. Maybe not as many minutes as we would have liked to have seen, but yeah, I think there could be that element of a bit.
And is this the benefit of having a manager that's established at the club now as well? So he's continuing his methods of what he's built since he first got here, hasn't he? And that's what you get with sort of like a philosophy of a manager. You get sort of like continuity, and we're going to have that with the same playing staff. But his ideas on how he operates, the players are comfortable around that now. Sometimes when you get a new manager and it chops and changes, and there's different ideas and there's different things, we're quite balanced with Emery. So I think maybe that's actually something that's playing out right in front of us. So, I mean, we just got a few little things to touch on then. So I'll ask you this question then. Do you feel like Eddie Howe and Unai like coming up against each other? Or do you think it's a bit of a matchup where they don't really look forward to it? How do you feel about it? Because Howe's obviously been damaged by Emery. Emery's been damaged by Howe. How do you think that makeup is going to look on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, we touched on it before. It's the home fixture. You're probably a lot more comfortable. The managers are, but it's those away fixtures where it gets a bit more difficult. But I mean, it's always a good game. I think the styles match up quite well, because they're two different philosophies of football, to be honest. So yeah, they probably do. Probably don't like coming up against each other because it's a difficult game, isn't it? So it's always a difficult game and unpredictable.
Yeah. So 12:30. Apparently, it's going to be sunny on Saturday. So I feel like first game, sun's out, football, you're back in your routine. Can't wait for it. Atmosphere should be absolutely amazing. So a game that I'm really looking forward to going to. We'll do score predictions then. You've got to back the Villa on the first game of the season. I mean, that's where you've got your optimism. So I think it'll be tighter than the last time, maybe, but I think Villa will nick it 2-1. That would be what I'm going with. What are you going with?
I'm going to say 3-1. I think it'll be a close game. I think it'd be like a 1-1 up until about 70 minutes, and I think I think we'll have some real impact with some subs off the bench as well. I think we'll pull away at the end.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Well, I've loved this episode with you, Earl. Match previews are back. We've got a whole week's worth of content. So, Villa fans, make sure you are subscribing. Get on the journey. Smash the like button. Comment your thoughts. Brand new concept dropping tomorrow. And I'm really excited to bring you this concept for every single game this week. So, cheers, everyone. Up the Villa.